Hello, this is Siobhan Green, your host of Black Cutes. This episode's guest is Tyrone Dixon. Mr. Dixon is going to talk about how a snowstorm, which he considers to be a perfect storm, his perfect storm, that led him back to Syracuse from Buffalo and on a path to becoming a life coach after learning about emotional intelligence.
I moved back home because of, I don't know if anyone up here is aware, but there was a storm in 2015 or the end of 2014, so like December 2014 out in Buffalo that ended up having 9 feet of snow.
He shared with me that it snowed nonstop for a week and a half, something he didn't even experience in Syracuse. So that storm drove him back home, the last place he wanted to end up.
Something that I never intended on doing. I always felt, and it took me a while to come to terms with this, but I always felt like coming back here would be a back step or taking a step back. Because I was very privy early on to the state of Syracuse. It was a very rough transition. I was very down on myself. It was kind of like, I felt like I really let myself down, to be perfectly honest with you, Siobhan. I felt like I let myself down by coming back to Syracuse where there was very limited opportunity for a college graduate at the time. So it was tough. It was very, very tough. And what I say would be my saving grace, it was immediately once upon moving back, I started working with at-risk youth, so adolescents from probably around the age of 12 to about 18. And just being able to be a part of their lives and to have an impact on their lives on a daily basis was very, very empowering for me.
So the people, the children of Syracuse kind of saved you, I guess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say that mixture wasn't that crazy, right? So I'm running away from my hometown this whole time, and lo and behold, it's actually what saved me and gave me life again.
It was here in Syracuse at Elm Crest Children's Center where Dixon was able to make some very deep connections with children that people usually misunderstand.
And I can remember it vividly from that first group. A lot of times you would hear, oh, these kids are bad, stay away from these kids, so on and so forth. But after like spending days with them, having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with them, and doing all these things, I started to see and I started to realize that it wasn't really the kids that were necessarily bad. It was the environment in which they were raised in and their exposure to that environment. So that really kind of turned my thought process from kids aren't necessarily bad. It's all about the environment and the words that we choose to feed into them that allows them to grow and prosper.
Great. And so that's when you started to think about so how did you, with emotional intelligence, what made you, how did the experience with the children get you to your aha moment about that topic?
So what it was me. Just so I had an incident where a young man he had said something very derogatory to me, and at a point in time in my life, I definitely think that would have caused me to lose it, or would have caused me to kind of blow a fuse. But I started reading. It made me read. And the very first book I read when I got back home was the Daniel Goleman, who is the quote-unquote godfather of emotional intelligence. I read that book, and I'm like, this makes just like we said earlier, like this makes so much sense to be aware of emotions and triggers that may arise within you so you can handle yourself in multiple situations. So I read that book first, and that piqued my curiosity, so I started using some of the techniques on the boys, and it was working. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with this route. I'm going to invest all that I can mentally into emotional intelligence and gathering as much knowledge as I can and spreading it out across wherever I could, including in Syracuse, like the south and west sides, where I spent the majority of my childhood.
Okay, and then that led you to doing some training, like actually you have actual workshops that you do for this topic. Can you just explain that too as well?
So with that end up segueing to it ended up segueing to me actually getting a certification to become a life coach, because in addition to kind of reading and all this stuff was happening kind of simultaneously, in addition to reading and developing myself mentally, I started to understand and see that we would get these young men in here for 6 months, 8 months, even a year at times, but then they were going back into their environments, right? So it was essentially what I my metaphor that I used for it was like taking a wild animal out of the zoo and then putting them right back into, or taking a wild animal from the wild, putting them in the zoo for 6 months, and then putting them back in the wild. As human beings, we default to our baseline behavior. And I started to see that in a lot of the young men that had done tremendous work, or that had done just great things while they were inside Elmcrest or in Elmcrest. They would go home and fall back into those same habits, those same bad routines, and that really had me down. So I'm like, there has to be more. There has to be more that I can do. There has to be something else to this. And from that, I went into or did a lot of studying on life coaching. And then I actually got a coach myself, and he was like, you know what, like, this is for you. Like, this is right up your alley. You're very personable. You get along with others well. People like to listen to what you say because you have a passion for it. And that actually got me into getting the certification. Once I received the certification, I then wanted to do as much as possible. It was like, I might as well tell as many people as possible, this is great. I was very, very excited about it, just excited to share the information. So that's how I reached out to, actually, the Southside Innovation Center was the very first place that I reached out to see if there was, maybe we can collaborate on something or set something up. And they were more than willing. They were like, yeah, sure, come in. You can host a workshop. And I received very, very good response from that very first workshop. So I'm like, oh, man, we can take this and run with it.
Oh, great. And I've heard of that, and I connected with some business counsel there at the Southside Innovation Center. Other things that's going on in the Southside that you feel like is helping you with your work and actually helping the Southside as well?
I actually think that the major push that they have an initiative, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but they want to kind of turn that whole South Avenue strip into a business district, which is phenomenal, in my opinion, because it's been, I'm not even sure if you know, but it's been one of the poorest areas in the country for a long time. I know when I was growing up, it was 1 in every 2 children that grow up in that area will be impoverished or grows up in an impoverished state. And it was number 1 in the country for African Americans as well as Latinos in poverty. So right. I think just being able to see that positivity, being able to see that image of the South Side being a business district or positive things going on in the South Side will be phenomenal for the kids, because I've noticed that not all children want to do negativity or want to be involved in negativity. It's just that allure, it's just that allure. It's like, what else am I going to do? My friends are doing this. What else am I going to do? And I found that just from speaking to the youth, that's a lot of what's going on in the back of their mind. Like, whereas if you guys can show me another way, then I'm all for it. But you only show me another way at this point in time.
Right. So with the workshop, that is showing them a different way to deal with their emotions. So when they go back into their communities, how were you able to measure that success? Because you said before you were just teaching them, and then you didn't realize, like, hey, they're actually going back into their lives. So it's going to be hard to keep this positivity going when they're going back into the same environment, unless they change their mental. So how were you able to measure that success?
I think the biggest measurement of success in my field, I would say, is testimonials. So being able to have a kid contact me on Facebook saying, hey, Mr. Dixon, thank you so much. I've gotten into college because of you. Or, hey, I would usually fight this kid because of this situation, but I haven't. Or one of my favorite stories that I like to share with everyone is that I worked with a young man for at least a solid year, right? And this young man, when he first came in, he was very, very tough, very, very rigid, just had trouble with establishing relationships. After a while, he was able to open up to me, and what him and I talked about and what I realized was that his father was 73 years old, and he was a 16-year-old young man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he had no way of really connecting with his father. And in addition to that, he had no way of helping his father out because of the age. He had no way of kind of providing income but stealing, robbing, just doing all these negative things, right? So we were able to connect him with a job starting here at Elmcrest, and he segued that job into the community. And I actually just heard from him last week. He's like, you guys literally changed my life. You changed the trajectory of my life, not only my life, but my children's life, right? So this will go on for generations. And I think that is the ultimate for me, just to hear stuff like that. That's it. That's all I need to hear.
Wow. And even if you just get one person, like, it's just
and
really...
That's it. Like, you're literally, and that's what I said, that I'm kind of happy the perfect storm came together, because even if you change one person's life, imagine how many generations that saves, how much headache, stress. You might even be avoiding someone going to jail or shooting someone, stabbing someone. So I fell in love with it after that.
Oh, great. That's making me feel like, making me feel warm. So
yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I love it.
So how would you describe emotional intelligence?
I would say emotional intelligence in its most basic form is being aware of feelings that arise within us, and also recognizing that other people have feelings as well, understanding those feelings, both ours and other individuals' feelings, and then managing the impact, right? So ideally, you in any emotional intelligence situation, you want to create a win-win scenarios, right? So you want to assert yourself to a point where you're not stepping on someone else's toes, but you want to also make sure their point is heard and validated as well.
Great. That sounds like a perfect definition. And so, and you also mentioned, so besides the workshops, you also, and you're a certified life coach, you also do relationship coaching.
Yes.
And can you just get into that for me?
Yep. So again, going back to what I told you earlier, a lot of times, especially nowadays with the instant gratification and being able to get things instantly, a lot of the times we struggle with communication, right? So we'll say something that either we don't necessarily mean or it wasn't our intent, and others will take it the wrong way and then they'll run with it, or worse, we'll be afraid to say something, or people are afraid to express themselves. So what relationship coaching does is it puts or gives people that platform, or give individuals that platform to either talk about a problem you may have within the relationship, in a group, or in a private one-on-one setting, to be able to hear another perspective and actually not only feel validated from your own perspective, but also hear a clear and poignant perspective as well on, I say, if you're right or wrong, or other ways you can handle situations.
Great. So you do emotional intelligence workshop, and you also do separately the relationship workshop. Is this all at the Southside Innovation Center, or is this where it is?
The emotional intelligence workshop was at the Southside Innovation Center. I've actually done the relationship workshops at the Southside Innovation Center, and I believe it was called the Northeast Library as well. I held the workshop there. So it's pretty much wherever I'm needed, I would say. I try to be as available as possible, because I know a lot of the information we don't think about on a daily basis. So to be able to bring it to people's awareness or individuals' awareness, I think that's key. Once you're aware of your habits and things that you may subconsciously be doing in relationships, then it's up to you to change it. If you don't change it, then it's not like you don't know at that point in time.
Right. Exactly. And so just for clarity, it's for any age. Anybody could be could come to these workshops. There's not like a age limit or minimum or anything, right?
Not at all. And my most recent, Wednesday, I finished up my most recent relationship workshop, and I had a young woman that was, I believe, 20 in there, and then an older woman that was like 63 or somewhere around that age. So it definitely doesn't matter age. It's more about being receptive of the information and understanding that there's always room to improve. As human beings, we're not perfect, therefore there can never be a perfect relationship.
Okay, that's a good way to put that. And then besides the workshops, you also do public speaking, like motivational speech.
I try to like, I know a lot of people say motivational speeches, but I try not to call it that. I call it public speaking because it's, for me, it's not like the yeah kind of thing, and that's just my image of motivational speaking. With me, it's just, again, laying down the facts and giving the information, and hopefully you pick up and run with it.
Okay. So if anyone wants to contact you to do public speaking or to do a workshop, how would they do that?
I have, I have a website, Aroze Through, or www.arozethrough, that's AROZETHROUGH.com. In addition to that, I have a Facebook page strictly dedicated to my business, Aroze Through Concrete Consulting, that anyone can reach me through there. And then also I've handed my business cards out to a few people that have gotten back to me. So my business card, or they can reach me at, do you want me to give my number as well?
Yeah, if that's how you would like people to contact you, yeah.
Yep. So they can reach me at area code 315-278-2993. And those are all my channels and avenues to be reached. And I'm typically always available. If not, definitely within a 24-hour time frame, I get back to people.
Okay, great. And I will also add all that information like down below the content as well for you. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to say or talk more about? Is there anything else you would like to share?
I think that going back to the relationship piece of it, so many people get caught up in roles and expectations and beliefs that they've been exposed to with relationships. A lot of it is us, right? So we can't necessarily affect someone else's happiness. We may have an influence on someone else's happiness, but ultimately it's their choice to be happy or not. In addition to that, I always try to prep people and tell them to be careful with using the words always and never, because the chances that someone always does something and never does something is very, very slim. So when someone says, I always do this or I always do that, chances are they don't always do that thing. Or same thing with the never, like saying, for example, I always use, like someone may say in a relationship, you never say you love me. And then in the back of their partner's mind, they're thinking, I just told you I loved you about 2 weeks ago or last night or whenever it was, because what that does is it causes people to automatically go in defensive mode and makes them feel like, you know what, since you say I always do this or I never do that, I won't do it at all. And then finally, forgiveness is huge for me. I struggled with this for a long period of time in my life. I do like to let people know and want people to know that forgiveness is, first of all, you have to forgive yourself, right? So when we talk about forgiveness, you forgive yourself for any action or inaction you may have done in your lifetime. But forgiveness is just simply laying down a burden, right? So you're laying down whatever burden is haunting you. It's up to the other person or the other party to then pick whatever the burden is up and run with it. It's not on us to continue to hold the burden, especially if we're genuinely sorry for it.
Great. Those are some really good tips, especially the always and never. I never heard that before.
Yeah,
you hear a lot about forgiveness, and I struggle with that as well. Like I feel like everybody probably does. And trying to understand what forgiveness is, but the always and never, I never heard that. That's those are really good, really, really good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, start using it, man. It'll get you out of hot water because we don't think about that, right? And again, going back to the subconscious mind, subconsciously, the partner may not even say, hey, I just did this last night or I just did this yesterday. In the back of their mind, they're going to say, oh, well, I did it the other day. She doesn't or he doesn't appreciate it. You know what? I'll never do it again or I'm not going to do it again. So those are automatic defense words or automatic defensive situations. So try to tell everybody to definitely avoid those two words there.
Great. Well, I definitely learned some things from you already in this short period of time that we've been talking. And again, like I said, I'll put your information will be at the bottom so people want to contact you for workshops or public speaking, just to make a connection. They'll be able to do that. So, and I like how you said, too, when you were saying how it was the perfect storm, because it's a storm that allows you to come here, and it seemed like, and then now it's the full circle thing. So I like how you described use the word the perfect storm, and it so that's a good way to look at it. So again, thank you for talking to me today. Thank you for sharing your story, and I hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely. No problem, Siobhan. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Black Cubes podcast, brought to you by Green Style Media. I am your host, Siobhan Green, founder of BlackOwnedSyracuse.com. Check out information below to get more information on topics discussed during this episode. And remember to buy Black, not just local.